Something shifts in the air the moment a bully picks the wrong person to provoke, especially when that person has been quietly, patiently preparing for exactly this. There's an unspoken tension in high school cafeterias, a strange electric pressure that settles in the space between clattering trays and hushed glances. At Jefferson High, lunchtime wasn't just about grabbing something to eat. It was a stage, a proving ground where reputations were earned, broken, and remembered. That's where it happened on a Thursday, of all days. Warm breeze outside, students half tuned into countdowns to summer, and inside everything felt ordinary, until it wasn't. Ariel Monroe walked into the lunchroom just after finishing a grueling pre-calculus test. She carried her earbuds in one hand, her bag casually slung across one shoulder, and a copy of Kindred she'd nearly finished in the other. She was 16, sharp-eyed, deeply observant, and quiet in a way that made people assume she was invisible. But she noticed things. She always had. She didn't talk much, not because she lacked thoughts, but because she was always calculating, watching, listening. Most of the tables were already staked out, claimed by the usual clusters: athletes with loud laughs, theater kids mid-rehearsal, band geeks animated in debate, and the influencer crowd, phones permanently affixed to their hands. Her usual seat by the windows was already taken, so she adjusted, scanning the room again. Her eyes landed on a half-full table near the center. Not perfect, but open. At least it looked open, until she noticed the backpack. It sat squarely in the center of the bench, as if it were laying claim. She paused, then locked eyes with the guy it belonged to. Tall, senior, Letterman jacket, blonde buzz cut, Bryce Callahan. His name carried weight, not for his deeds, but for the way people maneuvered around him, like he was some hazard in the hallway nobody wanted to acknowledge. Ariel approached without hesitation, calm, grounded. "Hey," she said politely, her voice soft but firm. "Can I sit here? Can you move your bag?" Bryce didn't respond at first. He kept poking at his tray like she hadn't spoken. Then he looked up, smirk playing at his lips. "You serious?" he said, deadpan. Ariel nodded once. "Yeah, just need a seat." He leaned back, theatrical in his annoyance, then flicked a glance toward his friends at the table. One of them snorted with laughter. Bryce looked back at her, incredulous. "Whole cafeteria, and you want this spot?" "It's not your table," she answered, voice still even. "Just your bag." Something in his face shifted. The smirk cracked. His jaw stiffened, barely, but enough for Ariel to see it. She didn't flinch, didn't move, just waited. Bryce picked up his backpack slowly, deliberately, and shifted it, barely enough for someone to sit. "There," he said, "be my guest." Most people might have taken the hint and walked away, not Ariel. She sat down with quiet composure, like this was exactly what she'd anticipated. At the far end of the table, the boys chuckled under their breath. Someone nearby whispered, "But Ariel?" She opened her book and started reading, undisturbed. Bryce, on the other hand, couldn't stop glancing at her. Her calm, her refusal to be rattled, unsettled him in a way he couldn't explain. 5 minutes passed, then 10. She didn't say a word, didn't even eat much. Just read, glancing up now and then. Bryce, trying to recover his ego, started talking louder. Too loud, like he was trying to pull the room's attention back to himself. And then, like something inside him snapped, he turned to her. "You think you're tough or something?" Ariel looked up, eyebrows raised in genuine confusion. "Excuse me?" "I said," Bryce repeated, sliding his tray aside, "you think you're tough, sitting here like you don't care." She stared at him, not afraid, just weary, as if she'd watched this scene unfold too many times already. "I'm just sitting," she replied. "Yeah," he muttered, rising to his feet now, posture edging into her space. Then sit somewhere else. Conversations around them stilled. Phones began to rise. Ariel gently closed her book. No urgency, no fear, just quiet resolve. I'm not moving, she said. Bryce stepped closer. Then his hand slammed down on the table. A loud crack. A few kids jumped, and then he shoved her. Not hard enough to knock her over, but enough to send a message. This wasn't a joke anymore. But Bryce didn't know who he was dealing with. You see, Ariel Monroe wasn't some girl looking to make a statement in front of her peers. She didn't crave conflict, never courted attention. But she knew herself. She had to. Life had demanded it. She'd faced far worse than cafeteria posturing. Her mother, Camille, a nurse working impossible hours. Her older brother, Devin, a first-year community college student who reminded her constantly not to let people disrespect her. You don't bark much, he told her once, but you better bite when the time comes. And Ariel, she didn't come by that bite by accident. At 13, a man followed her home from the park, said something vile. She escaped unharmed, but something in her changed. Her mother put her in Krav Maga the following week, not just to make her feel safe, but to make her ready. What began as a precaution became a discipline, a mindset. Ariel trained relentlessly year after year. No excuses, no shortcuts. Her instructors didn't coddle her. She trained like someone with something to protect. Because she did. By 16, she could disarm a man twice her size. She could redirect force, hold her breath under pressure, and remain centered when adrenaline tried to pull her under. But she never bragged about it, never showed it off. It wasn't for display, it was for survival. Most people at Jefferson High didn't see any of that. They saw the quiet black girl in the second row, the one who didn't speak unless spoken to, the one who never raised her voice. But Ariel had watched Bryce for months. She'd seen him shove smaller students into lockers, mock a freshman with a stutter until the boys stopped showing up to class. She saw the way teachers sidestepped him. She remembered all of it. So when Bryce leaned into her space in that cafeteria, Ariel wasn't responding to one shove. She was responding to every moment of injustice, every time someone mistook silence for weakness. She rose slowly, deliberate, eyes locked with his. Bryce laughed. "Oh, you standing now?" he said, loud enough for the phones to catch. She didn't answer. He stepped in closer. "You gonna cry or swing? 'Cause I ain't scared of either." Phones were recording now. The room went still. Ariel stepped back once. Balanced, hands open, calm. "Don't touch me again," she said, her voice smooth as stone. Bryce scoffed. "Or what?" But he didn't really want to know the answer. The room felt colder suddenly, like a storm was hovering just above them, waiting to break. Ariel didn't flinch, didn't blink, didn't posture or shout. She was still, focused, the eye of the storm. Bryce leaned in, grinning. "Real serious all of a sudden," he sneered. She said nothing. Then he did it. The moment that changed everything. He reached out again, this time with force. His palm hit her shoulder, meant to shove her back, humiliate her. But Ariel didn't stumble. Instead, time slowed. She shifted her weight back, turned her body inward, and let his force roll right off her. She stepped into him, not away. Her left hand rose, precise, controlled, clasped his wrist. Her right moved behind his elbow. And before Bryce even understood what was happening, he was no longer standing in control. She moved quickly, her body twisting sharply, a motion so fluid it seemed effortless. But Bryce's balance was already slipping, and in that moment, everything shifted. She hadn't thrown him with force, just enough to send him stumbling backward, his arms flailing in a desperate attempt to regain control. The impact was sudden. He hit the floor hard, his backside slamming against the cafeteria tiles. For a moment, the room was still. Half the students gasped, their breath catching. The other half was too stunned to say anything. One of Bryce's friends stood, as if ready to jump in, but Ariel was already stepping back. Her hands were still open, her posture relaxed. She hadn't done anything excessive. No punches, no kicks. She hadn't fought at all. She had just moved and he had fallen. Bryce scrambled to his feet, his face bright red, not from pain, but from the sting of embarrassment and anger. He wasn't hurt, but what burned was the fact that Ariel hadn't reacted the way he expected. She hadn't raised her voice, hadn't lunged at him in a wild rage. She hadn't given him anything to grab hold of. "You think this is funny?" he barked, his voice harsh. "You think that was cute?" Ariel looked at him steadily, her voice calm but firm when she said 5 words that hit harder than any punch. "Are you done embarrassing yourself?" Laughter rippled through the crowd, some murmurs spreading like wildfire, phones already recording. Bryce's face contorted with frustration. He wanted to say something, to do something, but he didn't. Maybe it was because he knew if he touched her again, things wouldn't end the same way. Maybe it was because, for the first time, he realized the power had shifted. He wasn't in control anymore, and everyone was watching. The lunch monitors had started making their way over, but Bryce mumbled something under his breath and walked off, brushing past a group of freshmen who couldn't take their eyes off him. Ariel sat back down, as though nothing had happened. She opened her book, flipping to the next page, her attention returning to where it had been before. A few minutes later, the assistant principal showed up. "Miss Monroe," Mr. Jennings said, his voice neutral as he stood next to her, "you need to come with me." Ariel nodded, put her book in her bag, and followed without a word. Phones were still out, the footage already spreading. By the end of the day, nearly every student at Jefferson High had seen it, but not everyone was talking about what Bryce had done. No one was focused on his shove. Instead, they were fixated on what Ariel had done afterward. The fallout hadn't even fully hit yet, but some still couldn't believe what they had witnessed. It had only taken 10 seconds, the moment Bryce pushed her to the moment he hit the floor. 10 seconds that had changed everything, flipping the entire school's perception of Ariel Monroe upside down. As Ariel walked down the hall behind Mr. Jennings, the air felt different. The staff, the students, they all seemed to be watching her, trying to figure out who she was, how to make sense of the quiet girl they had known for years and the one in the video. Bryce was already sitting in the office when she arrived. His face was still red, but he refused to look at her. Ariel didn't acknowledge him either. She sat quietly on the opposite side of the room. No eye contact, no words. When Mr. Jennings finally called them into his office, the air felt thick with unspoken tension. He folded his hands and looked at them both. "Someone want to tell me what happened today?" Bryce spoke first, his tone loud and accusatory. "She threw me to the ground in front of everyone, just lost it. I didn't even touch her like that." Ariel didn't blink. She didn't react. She simply looked at him, then turned to Mr. Jennings. "He pushed me twice," she said. "I told him not to. He did it again. I defended myself." Mr. Jennings tapped his pen against his pad, trying to piece together the situation. "And by defending yourself, you mean—" "I redirected him," Ariel replied. "I didn't hit him. I didn't hurt him. I just got him off me." Bryce scoffed. "What, is she some ninja now?" "I take Krav Maga," Ariel said, her voice calm. 3 years. I don't start fights, but I won't let someone put hands on me and think it's okay." Mr. Jennings looked between them, clearly unsure of how to proceed. "You're not hurt, are you?" he asked Bryce. "Nah, I'm good," Bryce mumbled. "And Ariel," Mr. Jennings continued, "you weren't trying to escalate things." "No, sir. I just wanted a place to sit." Mr. Jennings sighed, scribbling a few more notes. "I'll need to review the footage," he said. "But based on what I've heard and what's already online, it's clear this situation could have gone a lot worse. Bryce, You shouldn't have touched her, period. Bryce opened his mouth to argue but stopped himself, his head hanging. He had no defense. Ariel, Mr. Jennings said, turning to her, I know you didn't throw a punch, but this isn't the place for physical confrontations, even controlled ones. Ariel nodded. I understand. For now, Mr. Jennings said, there would be no suspension. He'd call both their parents, and they would be separated for the rest of the day. But if he found anything else in the footage, they would revisit the situation. Bryce groaned, but Ariel stayed silent. After the meeting, she waited outside the office while her mother was contacted. Camille Monroe, her mom, was at work when she got the call. She left her shift early and arrived 30 minutes later. She didn't storm in, didn't yell. She walked straight to the front desk, asked for Ariel, and gave her a long, quiet look. It wasn't anger, but something else. Something more alert, more focused. In the car, Ariel broke the silence. I didn't want to hurt him. Camille stared out the windshield, her voice steady but quiet. You didn't, she said, but you made a choice. Ariel nodded, not sure how to explain the conflict inside her. Camille didn't say much else, but before pulling out of the parking lot, she added one thing. I'm proud of you for standing up and for staying in control. The days that followed were filled with whispers and rumors. By Friday, the video had gone viral. It was on Instagram, TikTok, everywhere. But the numbers didn't matter to Ariel. What hit harder was the way people looked at her now. Curiosity, confusion, and something else. They were trying to reconcile the Ariel they knew with the one in the video. At lunch, Ariel sat at a different table with her friend Renee. Renee hadn't seen the incident live but had watched the video 100 times. You really flipped that guy, Renee whispered, grinning. Like, for real. Ariel gave a small smile but didn't feel like celebrating. I didn't flip him, she said. I moved. He fell. Same difference, Renee said, laughing. No, Ariel replied softly. It's not. Across the cafeteria, a group of freshmen whispered and pointed, holding up their phones. Ariel didn't mind, not because she was ashamed, but because she knew that moment wasn't supposed to define her. It wasn't a fight, it was self-defense. Period. But the internet didn't work that way. By the end of the day, a teacher asked her quietly if she was okay, not if she needed help, just if she was okay. The adults didn't know how to react, unsure whether to call her brave or act like nothing had happened. Bryce's friends didn't know what to say either. Two of them approached her near the vending machines during the last period. Yo, Monroe, one of them said. Heard you went all ninja assassin on Bryce. Ariel didn't respond. The second guy leaned in closer, trying to make a joke. You know, if you were mad about the seat, you could have just said something. No need for WWE moves. She turned to face them, calm as ever. You think this was about a seat? She asked, her voice even. He shrugged. Whatever. You made him look soft. That's not going to sit right with him. Ariel didn't flinch. Then maybe he shouldn't push people who ask him nicely to move a bag. Neither of them had a response. They backed off, understanding the message. Bryce's pride had been hurt more than his body, and some people couldn't handle that. The next week, Ariel was called back to the office. This time, it wasn't about punishment, but about what came next. Mr. Jennings sat with her and her mom again. I've spoken with district staff and Bryce's parents, he said. They're considering options. He may transfer out. Ariel stayed silent. You're not in trouble, Ariel, Mr. Jennings continued, but we need to make sure you're comfortable here, that you feel safe. Ariel met his eyes. I've always felt safe, she said. It's other people who just didn't expect me to be. The school was trying to manage the situation, but something deeper had shifted. Bryce returned on Monday, not with any big announcement or drama, but he was different. His usual swagger was gone. He walked through the hallways, but now people didn't look at him the way they used to. Ariel didn't avoid him. She didn't glare at him, Nor did she walk around like she was superior. She simply moved through the halls as she always had, focused and strong. But what no one expected was what happened that Friday after school. She was heading toward the back gate, ready to catch the bus home, when she saw Bryce standing alone by the fence. "I'm not here to start anything," he said quickly. "I just didn't know how else to say something." Ariel took out one earbud and crossed her arms. "You don't have to say anything." "I do," he replied, looking down. "I messed up. I let people hype me up. I thought pushing you was going to make me look tough, but all it did was show everyone who I really am." Ariel didn't respond immediately. She let the silence hang in the air before speaking. "You could have hurt me." "I didn't want to," he said. "I just wanted you to stop." She nodded. "I just wanted you to stop." Bryce hesitated, then added, "I saw the comments, the videos, the jokes. It's been brutal. But what messed with me the most wasn't the fall. It was the way you didn't lose control. Like I was losing it, and you just handled it." Ariel didn't smile or gloat. "I've had to handle a lot," she said. "People don't always expect you to know how." Bryce rubbed the back of his neck. "I'm not asking you to forgive me. I just wanted to say I was wrong. You didn't deserve that." Ariel looked him in the eye. "Thank you for saying that." He nodded, turned, and walked away. Just like that, it was over. Not forgotten, not erased, but done. Later that night, Ariel sat with her mom, folding laundry. Camille looked at her, a faint smile on her lips. "You okay?" Ariel smiled back. "Yeah, I am." Because the truth was, the fight was never about violence. It was about value, about knowing your worth and not letting anyone take that from you, no matter how loud they get or how many people laugh along with them. Sometimes standing your ground doesn't mean throwing fists. It means knowing exactly who you are and refusing to shrink when someone pushes you, not just physically, but with their words, their looks, their assumptions. You don't have to shout to be strong. You just have to stand your ground. If you've ever felt overlooked, underestimated, or disrespected, speak up. Let your voice be heard. You're not alone.